Okay, I repeat the point of the recording because there are new participants. This workshop will be recorded only for report reasons, and I hope you all agree to record this session. Okay. We are here because the starting point to define the path for the implementation of a circular economy is its measurement. This workshop aims to understand the importance of the circularity measurement with quantitative and qualitative indicators. Sorry, I ask you to turn off the microphone if you don't speak. Thank you. Input data for calculating the indicators concern all the phases of the supply chain, and this aspect creates a clear link between the circularity measurement and the digital product passport. Also because one of the principles of circular economy is the traceability of the resources. So there is an important connection between the two topics. Standardization can support the measurement process through specific standards, such as the UNI technical specification 11820 and 59020, an international standard. The Italian standard has already been published in November 2022, and the international standard, while international standard will be published next year. We don't know. We don't know when, but next year for sure. Today we have Laura Cutaia and Renato Ottone that will be with us to talk about the two measurement standards. Laura Cutaia is the chair of the Italian Technical Committee on Circular Economy, and she's explaining to us the contents of the Italian standard. And Renato Ottone is one of the experts who participate in the ISO working groups, in particular in working group 3, the group of the measurement of circularity. Renato is explaining to us the context and the contents of the international standard. So if you agree, I would start with the speech, and I give the floor to Laura Cutaia for the presentation of the Italian standard. Laura, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Claudio. Thank you, everyone, to be here. I'm going to share my screen. Just a moment. So you can see my presentation, I suppose, right?
Yes, right.
Yes.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk a little about this standard, which was published at the end of 2022, and now is available in Italy for circular economy monitoring and measurement. Going to the circular economy. Circular economy is a quite, let's say, new approach and new behavior for organization. And so there is the need of understanding how an organization deal with circular economy. And in this sense, these standards can be useful in order to let organization understand how they are circular. The document, the technical standard 11820, is an experimental document. That means that there is now it is running, but has 3 years to be, let's say, used in order also to understand several things. One thing could be, for example, understanding the benchmark of application of the level of circularity, since up to now we don't have an idea of what's exactly organization can do on this regard. So the implementation of this tool can help, first of all, in understanding which is more or less the level of circularity of organization, and thus understanding also more or less the benchmark, maybe sometimes according to the sector of the specific sector where organizations are working. If according to the standards, if the standards will be used in order to make a comparison between organizations, this comparison must be done with the comparison of the same, let's say, industrial sector, the same sector, and within the same year, the same reference years. So the technical specification helps in a guide on how to measure, evaluate, and assess the circularity performance of an organization. Provides the methodology for collecting the data, and the tool is based on let's say a solid framework, for example, life cycle thinking and material flow accounting, and so on, in order to have a sort of holistic and systemic approach for assessing circularity for organization. I mean that circular economy is not only, let's say, end of life of materials, waste, and whatever, or recycling, as you know. And for these reasons, the standard shall consider indicators able to, let's say, track possible action throughout the circular economy value chain, from the design phase to the end of life and to the back forward of materials at the beginning of the cycle. The process of development of the standards involved more than 40 organizations in Italy, divided between industry and commerce and government, labor, academic and research, and competent body for standards application, as you can see in this slide. And the most represent type of organization was industry and commerce. The works has been done through three different mind steps. The first one was literature review, then selection criteria and indicators, and then proposal within the document to be discussed within the competent body. This slide just to show you the amount of documents and indicators taken into account in order to have an idea of what was running at the time. I mean, 2021, when we started working on this topic. The main issue, my idea was trying to understand what was running, what was defined around the world for circular economy monitoring, which tools and also which type of indicators were used, in order to have a sort of framework to start. All these indicators have been checked and summarized in a table like this one, in order to understand the typology, the areas of application, the life cycle of which indicators was addressed, impact of the indicators, any other information provided by the indicator listed. We had 37 organization which was available for the test application of the first draft of the standard. We had 42 meetings of the working group. We had 23 revision of the document, and we processed at the end, received 122 comments from stakeholders, also from working group. About the indicators listed, we had the first set of indicator of 119. Then we had a sort of further selection of indicator going to 103. Then we had a pre-test phase of such indicators. And after the pre-test phase, we had at the end 81 indicators selected. Again, post this phase and post public inquiry, we had at the end a final amount of 71 indicators available in the standard. I heard some.
Sorry, please turn off your microphone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Indicators take into account environmental, social, and economic issues. So indicators are not physical, also related to economic aspects such as social aspects. Assessment based is on a percentage base, moving from 0 to 100%. The standard is the field of application of the standard is at micro level, I mean single organization or local authority, and also meso level. We mean group organization, inter-organization, industrial, territorial cluster, and so on. Given that in our for the point of application of the standard, organization means whether public or private organization providing product or service. The macro level is excluded from the analysis also because, as we can see at the end of this presentation, there is, at least in Europe, a framework for circular economy monitoring, which is at macro level and defined by European Commission through Eurostat. In the standards, we have 99 terms and definition that are split up into categories such as general terms, definition for material resources and components, energy and water, logistic, product and service management, human resources, asset, policy, and sustainability. Here we have some example of definitions such as circular economy, which was taken from the parallel working group at ISO level, and boundaries of the system, circular economy indicators, and secondary material resource. In the standard, you can have a look at all of this definition. The definition are crucial in order to apply indicators listed at the end of the standard. In order to use the standards, we have to acquiring data. Okay. First of data acquisition, we have to define the scope of the assessment, of the evaluation, of the monitoring. Define the data quality requirements, and understand which type of assessment we need to do, and then choose the proper set of indicators. The standards can be applied to organization of product or organization of service. As we can see in the next slide, we have some indicators that can be applied only to organization of product, some indicators that can be applied only to organizational services, but also indicators that can be applied to both. For each of those indicators, we have to define the boundary definition for the whole assessment, the selection of indicators to be used and so to be calculated. And then for each indicator, we have to provide data for calculation. We have to look for data for calculating the specific indicator in terms of numerator and denominator, the ratio between, because indicators are normally ratio between something in the up and something in down. We have to check if the data we have are complete and of quality. If yes, we can use the data provided and then calculate the indicators. If not, we have to check again and to look if we can have a different, if we can choose a different indicator if we don't have enough data to calculate the first one, or if we can check for different source of data in order to assess the indicators chosen. I'm sorry because this diapo is in part in Italian, but just to show you that indicators are divided in different categories, as I told you before. And there are some on material resources components, some on energy and water, and so on. And then we have the same indicator split up in a type of indicator. Indicators can be quantitative in terms of, for example, in physical terms, can be qualitative in terms of if you have or you have not something, or so for example, certification, or semi-quantitative, quantitative in terms of that there are mixed one. Indicators can be applied to organization of products, for example, this one, of service, or both. And moreover, we can have indicators according to the boundary or to the object of the assessment. The assessment is done taking into consideration of organization as organization would be a sort of black box where we have streams going in input, streams going out in output, and also streams, internal streams, but also internal issue that can be taken into consideration in order to assess how circular organization is. For this reason, indicators can be input indicators or output indicators or input-output indicators, I mean, in the middle, or internal indicators. Indicators are, in order to have a holistic approach, indicators are divided in three specific categories. There are core indicators, specific indicators, and rewarding indicators. Core indicators must be fulfilled all. Specific indicators must be fulfilled at least by 50%, and reward indicators are, of course, optional. For product organization, we have 8 core indicators 50 specific indicators, 11 optional indicators. While for service organization, we have 7 core indicators, 40 specific indicators, and 8 optional indicators. This is an example of the table of indicators where you can see here the description of indicator, the type of measurement, in this case is quantitative, the parameter taken into consideration to be assessed, in this case is mass, I mean is weight, the typology of data, in this case this is an input data, and that means that these indicators refers to something, a stream which is in input to the system. Then we have the numerator and denominator of the specific indicator, and we have to check for when we are looking for data, we have to check for understanding which is the data here, where we can have, we can take the information listed here, and where we can take into consideration the information listed here. Related definition, terms and definition are listed in this point, and according to the standard, when you apply the standard, you have to check normally the definition, since sometimes the definition are specific for this for the standards, and so should be taken into consideration as they are written. In this case, this indicator can be applied both to organization of product and organization of service. And this type of indicators is rewarding, is listed as number 3, which is in our scheme as core is number 1, specific is number 2, and rewarding is number 3. Okay. Data quality. There is a lot of things to do about data quality, things to say about data quality. The point is that if we have to use this assessment in order to also to provide information on our circularity level, provide information to our customer on our circularity level, or looking for certification of our circularity level, we have to provide data that can be checked by someone else, by an auditor. And so data provided shall have all these, shall respect all these points, and should be so representative, for example, should be tracked, we have to understand where is the data and where I can check the data year by year, for example, should be actual, should be of referring to the year taken into consideration, for example, in the circularity assessment specific applied for this for the application, and so on. We have here the always a part of the standard, which is in Italian, and where we have the list of indicators applicable to the product organization in this case, and to service organization in this other case. Here we have the list, the number of indicators that can be seen here. This is the number, and we have the number here.
Sorry, Laura, could you complete your presentation in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. In order to assess the circularity level of organization, so you have to check all these points, and to really, really quickly calculate, fill all the core indicators, fill at least 50% of specific indicators, and fill the selected rewarding indicators. Then you have to do a sort of ratio between completed indicators and at the numerator, and then the denominator, the core and specific indicators that are applicable. The circularity indicators should be assessed not only at general, at summary of all, but for each category take into consideration the assessment. I mean, for example, material resources and components, energy and water, and so on. So in order to understand the point of attention and where an organization is more confident and less confident on circular economy level. The assessment can be taken into consideration for assessment for conformity as first part, second part, and third part. Now we are at UNI level. There is a checking about the assessment with the third-part organization. This is the circularity assertion for explaining the level of circularity gained and the data according to the assessing provided. Just another information now, the technical standards is under revision, and by the end of, by mid 2024, it's expected to be finalized, the revision of the standard. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for your presentation. Now we move on to the next presentation and save the questions for the final part of the workshop. Renato, the floor is yours.
Sorry to interrupt you. It will be possible to have the slides of the previous presentation?
Yes.
Yes, of
Laura,
course.
if you agree, okay.
Yeah, yes, of course, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Renato, can you hear me? Okay, we see your presentation, but I can't hear you.
Yes, with the microphone is much better.
Okay, thank you. The floor is yours.
Yes, my name is Renato Ottone. I will be talking about the 59020 Circular Economy Measuring and Assessing Circularity. To be able to talk about 59020, I need to provide a little overview about TC323.
Sorry, Renato, we don't see your presentation now.
Oh. And now?
No, not yet.
About now?
Okay, perfect. If
I
you
will
put
wake
it
up.
in widescreen.
Sure.
All right,
Now
we
you
have
probably
the
can see
presentation
something.
and the microphone. We're ready.
Very good. Great. I will wake up sooner or later. Don't you worry. So another view of TC323. It is a huge committee with 72 participant members, 22 observing members, and it has 6 standards under development. The organization is depicted there. In my presentation, I am providing some information, but my basic aim is to give you the appropriate link to find those things in an updated mode into the ISO portal. Now, the CircThread project is well represented within TC 323. First of all, because ECOS is present in all important VGs, like VG1, WG3, and WG5, and join group 14, but also Christina and Rembrandt from the project are directly participating to working group 5. So the updated work program is available at the link that is placed there. Don't lose time to read my slide. It's just the link that is important. And be informed that for each document that has reached at least the DIS level, you can always see the abstract of the document, the table of content, the foreword, the introduction, and the scope, and you can buy it and download the document. So I will go to a quick listing of the 6 standards that are under development. As I said, everything is available at the links that are indicated. The only thing that is different in my presentation are my notes. So the basic document is the 59004, that is the terminology, principle, and guidance for implementation. It is not a document containing requirements. It is the base for all other documents published by TC 323. With 99 ISO member states, it is very difficult to get a perfect document. But what we are trying to get is the best compromise that could be reached between those experts from 99 ISO member states. One of the problems is that it is being developed synchronously with the development of other standards of importance, including our 59020, which in turn shall use that terminology, principle, and guidance as a reference, which makes things very complicated. Probably the document will be published by fall 2024. The next document of interest is 59010, Guidance on the Transition of Business Models and Value Networks. That document is quite mature, not having many problems. I think that here also we will have it published by fall of 2024. 59020, I will be talking about it later on, so I just consider my opinions. The VG3 is trying to handle 278 pages of comments in a very short time. We are reaching some reasonable consensus. The convener of the working group, Hans Schröder, is saying that we are reaching consensus on the fact that every participant is equally unhappy about what we are doing. But I think that the document is not too bad at all. Some indicators shall be based on the definition that are still being discussed on 59040. Here also, the idea is to have the document ready for 2024. So 59004, 59010, and 59020 will be seen as a package or a family of standards. Other document of interest, 59040, product circularity data sheet. This is of direct interest of the project. And what I am writing in red is that, in my opinion, the CircThread experts should check on the document and be very careful to verify if its requirements are actionable, usable, applicable, and to check if it contains any provision that could limit the uptake of the CircThread exploitable results. This inquiry is expected to start by beginning of November, and keep an eye on the document content. You are allowed to provide comments, technical and editorial, and those will be very welcome. There are a couple of technical reports. One is performance-based approach analysis and case study. I am not very happy with that document, and it is written in the presented note, because it is not conforming to the ISO drafting rules, and it is actually not consistent with the content of 59004, 59010, 59020. I think that it looks more like a showroom of the presented cases. Anyway, it exists and it will probably be improved later on. 59032 is a review of existing value networks. Here again is a technical report, but this one is more usable. First of all, because it was originally developed by WG2 to be supporting 59010. So the consistency, at least it is there. It will need some revision to account for the latest version of 59040, 59010 that are being revised. 59014, environmental management and circular economy, sustainability and traceability of secondary material recovery, principle and requirement. My opinion on that is that the document has got very little to do with circular economy. It can be interesting for the CircThread as it also addresses social responsibility, that this inquiry has started and it will close in 12 weeks. Now, on 59020, that was the main objective of our thing. It is cited as a normative reference for 59040, which in turn is cited as a source query for ISO IEC 82474 Part 1, which is the new version of the old 62474.1 that was only concerning electrical equipment. Now it is being developed in conjunction between ISO and IEC, and it concerns all products. And that, in my opinion, it will be considered in the development of the standard that will have to be made to respond to the future mandate of stemming from the Eco Design for Sustainable Products Regulation. There also there is a link for the regulation. Very quickly, the content overview. Principle of measuring and assessing, framework for the measuring and assessing circularity, setting of the boundary or the context, circularity measurement and data acquisition, that includes the table 2 that we will see better on. It talks about the reporting, and it is composed of a lot of annexes. The Annex A concern the core circularity indicators, and it is a mandatory. It is a normative annex. All the other are there for information only. Interesting to note that it also considers complementary methods, and the documentation is good to read, in my opinion. So on table 2, the main resource, there are not so many indicators, and there is in the table it is indicated whether it is mandatory or not, even if it is a core. So reused content of an inflow, recycled content of an inflow, renewable content of an inflow, those are all mandatory. Average lifetime of a product or material relative to industrial average, it is not mandatory. Again, mandatory. Reuse content of an outflow, recycling rate of outflow, recirculation of outflow in the biological cycle. Those are mandatory things. I think that I have missed one piece of the table, but you can find it in the document itself. Sorry for that. I will make sure that the document that will be distributed is complete. So some words about those indicators. I'm almost finished. It is indispensable to define what is the circularity expert that it addresses, what is the system level, varying from regional, interorganizational, organizational, product level. If this is one of the limits, because if we are trying in that document to address too many things at the same time. Of course, the measurement unit, the data requirement, and how to do the calculation or the aggregation of data. The continuation, sorry, there was just a mismatch there, therefore. And I think that this is a repetition of the previous one. I have to improve my presentation, sorry. But on the again, energy is not considered to be a mandatory element. And here is the continuation. So there is only a presentation that has to be taken away. On water, none of the indicators is mandatory, nor are the economic indicator are mandatory. In Annex B, we were saying that there are additional indicator, and those are the ones that are proposed. Percentage energy recovered from residual, non-renewable, etc. Energy intensity, nutrient extraction from discharged water. In additional economic indicator, there is net value added, value per mass, reduced productivity, resource productivity, genuine process indicator. Those were inserted because in very many organizations, those indicators are being suggested. So the conclusion and the suggesting action. FI 9020 is mainly defined. Only those technical issues that receive comment during this can be addressed at this stage. So there is not much that anybody can do on it, especially not CircThread experts. ECOs are very active in VG3 and on other working group as well. And they are really struggling hard to improve the quality of the document. And I am sure that they will be able to keep CircThread researcher updated on the development. You are really well served there with that partner. If you are involved with the definition, specification, or implementation of CircThread framework components, I think that you should allocate some time to read the content of the document. At this stage, it's probably right to wait for the FDIS, because the document, as I told you, has received 278 pages of comment. In FI 9040, again, repeating what I have already said before, check if that document is suitable for CircThread, or try to propose, if not, especially, try to propose anything that makes it applicable to different industrial sectors, especially. And my opinion is that FI 9040 lacks the input for people that really understand what is data associated to what is being addressed. I am sure that within the CircThread, it will be possible to find a lot of competencies that will be helpful for the document itself. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Renato. Thank you. I apologize, but my webcam is no longer detected by Teams, and I have to keep it turned off. Sorry. Thanks, Renato. Now let's move to on the interactive part of this workshop. I put in the chat a link to interact with a couple of questions. A couple of questions for a quick brainstorming for the teams today. But first, I'm showing you some example of indicators of the Italian standards. I share the screen. Okay. Laura showed the table of the indicators with all the informations. That's the first example of indicator, a core indicator, so a mandatory indicator. The description is byproducts and or secondary material resources incoming compared to the total material resources incoming, because this is a input indicator. In this way, we calculate how many incoming not primary resources compared to the total. And for all indicators, I have a disclaimer for indicators. The convention is that the higher higher is the value of the indicator and more circular the indicator is. So that's a rule for all indicators. Second example, a specific indicator by products generated in year N compared to the total production residues generated in the year N. Year N because the assessment is made in a reference year. So I made the assessment for a specific year. And the last example before the interaction moment is an example of bonus or rewarding indicator, because we have to choose the correct term for the English traduction. We have to translate the standard. We are working on it. That's an indicator which represents a higher level of maturity in circular economy, so that's not mandatory. And this example is material resources, products and byproducts outgoing, because it's a output indicator in year N, provided with a tracking system, for example, product passport, compared to the total outgoing material resources, product and byproduct in year N. I would like to insert this example because CircThread talk about the digital product passport, and that's a start, an indicator which start to insert the concept in the circularity measurement. For completeness, the definition of the standard of tracking system is a tool that tracks information on resources, products and byproducts, and some examples are product passport, RFID systems, and IoT sensors, for example. Now, before the part dedicated to the questions, I ask you to click on the link in the chat or catch this QR code to move on Mentimeter, because I want to ask you 2 questions. I give you some second to enter in the survey. Okay. For questions, which could be the main critical issues regarding circularity measurement, in your opinion, considering your organization, your experience, the presentations of Laura and Renato? It's a brainstorming. It's to stimulate the debate in the final part of the workshop. We are very interested to the other option, the last option, because we are curious to know what. Okay, data not always available it is the winner. Laura, we received a lot of feedback of application, and it's a very important topic. I don't know if you want to comment this aspect, or we do that in the end.
As you prefer, I can just to try to comment. Yeah, I would just like to share with you the experience we have up to now with, for example, with the implementation of courses that we are doing on these standards to organization, different type of organization. One of the most critical aspects for the implementation of the standards is of course the data availability. So one point of to be focused, in my opinion, is understanding how organizations are able to manage data, and also to have in a sort of dashboard, a common dashboard, all data needed for this kind of application, which are not so common. Are not so common, since normal organizations are suited, are able to control, to manage in a very good way the indicators that are related with economic aspects, of course, but also with mandatory aspects related to regulatory issues and so on. In the standard, there are several indicators that are not related strictly nor with economics aspects and nor with mandatory issues. So this is the point why sometimes it's not so easy to understand who are data and how the organization can assure that the data are checked, safe, and so on.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. Another interesting aspect is the data managed by other subjects, because you said that at the beginning of the assessment you have to set the perimeter of application, and some data are between the organization and other organizations, for example, suppliers. So thank you for your answers. The last question is, how many indicators should a circularity measurement algorithm contain? Because that's a critical point, because if we have more indicators, we have more informations, more details, but the applicability is reduced, especially for the small organization, the medium organization which haven't the resources maybe to analyze and to collect all the circularity data needed. So in our opinion, obviously the middle way is the solution that we got. But it's subjective, because for me 70 indicators could be few, for another subject not. So that's a critical aspect. So a middle way is the winning answer, and we agree with this approach. Maybe we could understand a middle way is how many indicators. Maybe someone wants to take the floor to comment this aspect. So thank you, and we have 5-10 minutes. I ask you if you have some questions. Laura, sorry, you open the microphone.
No, just to make a comment on this last point. I think that indicators are not few or too many, or there's not a right number of indicators. I mean that in order to assess the circularity level of organization or whatever, we have to check at least the most focused point of each part of value chain of a circular economy, trying to have a holistic approach, to a holistic vision of what the organization is doing related to the circularity. Okay, this is my point. So
thank you, Laura. And I read in the chat a message from Christian Dworak. Hi, Christian, which invite us to the discussion of the new technical committee on circular economy. The kickoff meeting of this TC will be 28 and 29 November in Stockholm. We will be there as UNI. I don't know if our bodies or if the heart with art, but we participate to this kickoff meeting. I don't know, Christian, if you want to add some details to your message.
Yes, I think Renato explained it very well, that the concepts we currently see in all the series of TC323 they do not match very well with the European Union approach of circular economy. It starts from the definition and the terminology and goes through all the standards. It's far behind the European ambition of circular economy. And that's why we have to sit together at CEN level and hopefully agree on the European level on a better set of standards describing the circular economy approach, so that all the stakeholders in Europe that use hopefully the European standards can be sure that the usage of the standards is meaningful for the business in Europe and that they could align with the European principles of circular economy. It will be a tough discussion, especially with SES and Sweden and France. Renato knows the positions from 3 to 3 of France and Sweden, which are not necessarily aligned with the other European countries. And yeah, I can only invite you to join this, and I can already, let's say, promise that the German National Committee will propose 2 new work item proposals to directly chip in and say, okay, we have to do a better job here at European level that we have done at ISO level. And hopefully Uni and Italy and all the stakeholders here will support.
Thank you, Christian. Renato, agree with you in the chat and propose a liaison between the CircThread project and the new technical committee. We will evaluate it. And I give the floor to Renato because I see his raised hand.
Yes, very quickly, just an information. It's very easy to liaise with a CEN-TC. There is a guide called Guide 21 and can be applied. And I think that in the case of CircThread, it would be no problem for having the liaison approved. And indeed, I think it is important. Now, one good signal, it is that in the preliminary documentation concerning 473, there is an indication that says that it would not provide documents that are already addressed by other TCs, and there is no mentioning of the application of the Vienna Agreement. So at least there will be no automatic transferring of ISO documents to the 473, which is a good thing. And of course, I mean, we have to be critical, but we have also to be open to try to apply all what is usable of the documents coming out from 323. Why that? Because even if we are we have to be very keen on the documents concerning the European Union, we have seen that at the end of the day, those documents has to be virtually applicable for anyone that wants to introduce product in the European community. Therefore, there should be some type of equilibrium and not just closing our eyes on our little backyard. But that danger is not there, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Renato. Thank you, Christian. I ask you if you have other questions. I see in the chat a comment from Rada. What would the middle way look like in reality? Maybe Laura answered to in part these questions, but in my opinion, few indicators could be 5, 10, and a lot of indicators are 100, 200s, because we have thousands and thousands of indicators. So the middle way, the compromise of the standardization process could give a solution to this problem. That is a critical problem, because in the national standard we have 71 indicators. In the ISO standard we have 30 indicators maybe. So the order is the same, but it's a different situation. How many details we have inside the indicators? The quality of the indicators is another parameter. So my question was a provocation to stimulate the debate, but we couldn't have a clear answer now. But we could think about this problem. We are in the end of this workshop. Maybe Federica, Rada, we could collect other questions if someone wants to write a question for the speakers, and we could respond and share the answer of these questions next weeks. What do you think about it?
Yes, absolutely. If anyone has conscious of time, if anyone wants to share or give any comments, please do so on the chat, and then we will collate them and come back to you, conscious of time and other people's diaries. But thank you all for your participation today.
Okay,
I'll hand back to you, Claudio.
Okay, I wrote my email address in the chat if you want to write me. Okay, only last detail, a question was, where is Ateco? Ateco is an Italian code to identify a specific activity. So, for example, the consultant activities have a specific number, and other activities, for example, services or production, are other codes. So we have to close. Thank you all for your participations. Thanks to the participants, speakers, and partners. We remain available for any questions, and thanks again for your participation. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.